How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the first episode of Sports Support. My name's Carter. Joining alongside me is JP, Ezz. A little bit about ourselves. We're young sports fans, aspiring sportscasters. I personally am from Olney, Maryland. Came down to the University of Georgia. I'm a sophomore here, majoring in finance with a certificate in sports media.
And my name's JP, and grew up in Tampa. All Tampa sports fans. I grew up loving sports, watching it with my grandfather, and can't get enough of it. So I'm joined with my two buddies right here, and we're gonna get it rolling.
Hi, my name's Ezz. I'm from the Bay Area. I'm a big, Bay Area fan. I moved here when I was young, but still, now I'm dedicated to the Bay Area. I'm gonna be a future student at the University of Georgia, and I just love talking about sports. It's that simple.
So in these podcasts, we're pretty much talking about all NFL. We're going to go start sits in fantasy. We're going to give our bets of the week, whether it's like picking a team to win outright, whether it's spreads, whether it's player props. We give all of that stuff. We talk news in the NFL. We pretty much cover it all here at Sports Support, and we're excited to get this thing going.
Yeah,
so
it's been a dream of mine since I can remember, so.
Yeah. Definitely. I mean, me and Jaden, I feel like we've been talking about this for a while since we were like little kids.
In the front yard since we were 12.
Yeah.
It's finally coming into fruition. I'm excited, y'all.
Exactly.
So we're going to start it off here and kick it off with fantasy overlook. And I'll start with you, Jaden. What really popped out to you first looking at these Week 11 matchups?
You know what? My Tampa Bay Buccaneers are on a bye, so, I was looking at that first. But other games, some of them excited me. Some of them I don't really know how to feel. For instance, Raiders, Dolphins. That one seems like a trap game to me. I also really like Chargers, Bengals. I think that's going to be an absolute shootout.
Definitely.
On both sides of the ball.
Mm-hmm.
If you have either of them, start any of them in fantasy pretty much. But we'll talk about that later. But those are my favorite games going in.
And then, Ez, are there any players in particular that really stood out to you? Or
I'm going to go with George Pickens. I feel like he's done having his temper tantrums that he did with starting out the season.
Yeah.
And he's realized that he is the wide receiver one on a contending team. And for him, he's just a big player in my eyes. Big game against the Ravens this year, who have had a rough defensive stretch so far.
Of course.
And I think, him and Russ finally have that connection that we've been looking for them to have,
I mean, Russ has been balling.
Definitely.
I mean, I've been a George Pickens fan ever since he was here at the University of Georgia, and I've been saying just get that man a quarterback and he'll ball out. And Russell Wilson's he's never afraid to throw the ball deep, and George Pickens makes those plays. And they're better than almost any other receiver in the league.
They finally have that connection that they've been trying to build for the past 3 weeks. Russell Wilson's 3-0 in his starts.
I don't know about you guys, but I definitely questioned the decision to start Russell Wilson. At first, I was like, Justin Fields has been playing amazing.
Yeah.
And, you put Russell Wilson in, and he immediately shows why he's the starter.
I mean, they are scoring for real.
It's a whole new offense.
So we're gonna cut into a segment right now that we like to call Ball or Fall. So basically what this is we're going to take players in fantasy, and we're going to say whether we think in Week 11 they're going to ball out or they're going to fall out.
Exactly.
And so we're going to give 2 balls, pause, and 2 falls. And so we'll start out with me. One of my balls of the week, per se, is Cedric Tillman.
Great pick.
Cedric Tillman, over the last 3 weeks, obviously he had a bye last week. He's scored over 18 fantasy points in PPR all 3 games. Jameis Winston's inserted in this lineup. He loves him. Tillman's still a young guy. He's only 24 years old, and he's really coming into his own now that he's got Jameis, who obviously just will throw anything pretty much.
Yeah.
In these last 3 games, he's gone 12 targets, 9 targets, 11 targets. He's racked up 75 or more yards in all of these games, and over the last 3 games, he has 3 touchdowns, and I don't see this stopping, especially against the Saints team who lost Marshawn Lattimore. Their secondary's been a little shaky all season long, and so I think he's gonna keep on with these trends that he's been following, and he's gonna have a good fantasy week.
Definitely.
I like it, and they're going against the depleted Saints team who started out 2-0.
Yeah.
2-7 now, just lost to the Panthers. I mean, their season's done.
After that Panthers game, we saw some of the defensive players making some statements online, and it just seems like their defense is just, devastated.
I mean,
deflated
injuries,
even.
man. Injuries have killed them. So
I like that big game from Cedric Tillman. I'll go on next. I'm gonna just retrack back to my first one that I just talked about, is George Pickens. I think he's a more versatile wide receiver than people think. When we first came to the league, the whole thing was he's good on the deep ball.
Mm-hmm.
We saw him going up on those one-on-ones, constantly catching those crazy catches, but he's honestly more than that. And people challenged him as a wide receiver one for a long time. And I think now that he does have that quarterback that can get him the ball well, he's proven that he can be a wide receiver one. Is he maybe one of the best in the league? Not yet. But he can definitely be a sustainable wide receiver one for a team that's contending like the Steelers.
Yeah.
And I see him having a big game this week against the Ravens.
I think he's a must-start moving forward in all leagues.
He has to be.
Definitely.
Yeah.
He has to be.
I mean, especially with Wilson at the helm, they've been scoring 25, 26 points a game.
And Pickens is the number one option.
And he's the number one option by a large amount, too.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
So my ball of the week, it's got to be Justin Herbert. He's going against the Cincinnati Bengals, who just had 5 touchdowns score on them by the Ravens in a shootout. I believe that this is also going to be a shootout. Ravens have a very good running defense. In the beginning of the year, the Chargers kind of had that identity. J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards, and they have Gus Edwards back this week, but the Ravens have been able to stop the run. Herbert's looked good enough to where they don't need to rely on the run anymore.
Yeah.
He's built that connection with Ladd. I mean, Will Dissly is getting a lot of targets. It's looking like a promising young offense, and they're 6-3. They're contending. I believe that Justin Herbert.
I mean, I love this Chargers team. I love Harbaugh. I think he's a great coach, and people thought, he's just going to pound the rock this year, which he has, and Dobbins and Edwards, that little two-man army right there has been great.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he's finally kind of unleashing Herbert, and Herbert can be used as this weapon who kind of goes under the radar because the run game and defense has been so good, but he's been protecting the ball, and when need be, he's been throwing it accurately, throwing it often, and his deep ball's been on point all year long.
Yeah, for sure.
I think one thing that stands out to me about Justin Herbert is that, since he's been drafted, the Chargers have been having up and down years, but the one thing throughout all those years that he can ball.
Yeah.
No matter when his team's good, no matter when his team's bad, that he's going to go out there and play good football. And now that he does have some more weapons than he did in some past years, it's going to show that he's that guy.
I mean, he's a great player, and this game script is perfect for him to absolutely ball out this week. So that will be my ball of the week.
So I'm going to transition into a fall, and it's actually going to be 2 players here since one of them is questionable. It's going to be either Brian Robinson Jr. or Austin Eckler.
Okay.
Last week against the Steelers in Robinson's absence, Eckler had a pretty good game. He had 13 carries, only 44 yards, but he did get in the end zone twice, adding a reception for 7 yards there. He had a good week fantasy-wise, but his legs are gone, and he just doesn't have what he used to have. And whoever's starting in this game, frankly, even though Brian Robinson, he'll be coming off of injury, might have a little bit of a snap share, I'm staying away from all Washington running backs, especially against a great Eagles run defense who have really stepped it up in these last 5 weeks over their 5-game win streak.
Yeah, and it's Thursday Night Football. It's prime time. It's a perfect game script for the pass right here for Washington. I mean, maybe they're down, but also the Philly defense is just a bunch of Georgia boys.
Yeah,
and they make you pay.
They hunt, man.
They do.
They hunt.
They definitely do.
I think even though Philly does have that really good pass defense too, I think they're gonna have to rely on the pass just because they know that those Washington running backs aren't gonna be able to get started. And that's something that they have to work with. But going into my falls, I have 2 major falls. First one's being Kirk Cousins. He's going up against that Denver defense this week. And here's the thing about the Falcons' offense is when they are good, I see them as elite. A team that can win the division, an offense that can win the division, and beat big teams. But they have had shaky games. And, going up against a defense as good as Denver, I think this is going to be one of those shaky games from them.
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to last further on, but I think this is a learning point for a team like them that, with a quarterback in his first year there, they're gonna struggle this week. And so I'm saying Kirk Cousins. And for my other fall, I got Travis Etienne. And I think that Detroit run defense is just going to stop him. Bigsby's injured. Trevor Lawrence is injured. And I just don't think he's going to be able to get anything going. And I think he's just going to struggle all game, first off. And I think the Jags going into this game, they might say, okay, we need to run this ball with Trevor out. But I think later on, they're just going to start giving the ball to Mac Jones because they realize that the Detroit rush defense is going to just lock down Etienne.
And they shut down the Joe Mixon, who has been balling in every single game. They made him average 2 yards a carry. Just totally shut that out.
So to fall back on that Kirk Cousins take, Drake London might be out, and that means who's guarding Darnell Mooney? Pat Surtain.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a good recipe for. That's a recipe for disaster.
Definitely.
So, I mean, I love that fall. I feel like Kirk Cousins will definitely struggle against this defense, and it's just a matter of time when the Falcons actually do prove themselves, or they.
I think they, even though I do have them, I specifically Kirk just having a bad game this week. I think they will end up being able to hang with the big dogs, especially him. He's going to show that even though his first year there, he will be able to show up in these big games and be an elite starting quarterback for them in the future.
For sure, yeah. And for my fall of the week, just to transition out of that, I think Josh Downs is met with, a very tough task this Sunday. Not only did Anthony Richardson be named the starter again, after saying that he was tired and walked off the field, but Anthony Richardson doesn't target Josh Downs at all. It's either deep ball or no ball with him, and it's either Alec Pierce who's that guy.
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't even look at Pittman either.
No.
So I mean, Josh Downs has been great. Don't get me wrong, but with Anthony Richardson and having going against Sauce Gardner or the whole Jets defense, they're number one against the pass.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense for you to start Josh Downs this week. It really doesn't.
I agree. I think, Anthony Richardson, for some reason, does not like Josh Downs. And I think he's the wide receiver one for Indy with a normal quarterback. I think he's more explosive than Pittman, better after the catch.
He's more shifty.
Yeah.
And that's what I was going to say. It's a shame because when he did have Joe Flacco at quarterback, he was putting up good numbers and he was playing very well. So to see him suddenly fall like that because of the quarterback change kind of stinks.
Yeah. I'm going to transition into my last ball of the week then, and that is my current favorite player as a Texans fan, and it's C.J. Stroud. Stroud has been subpar this year, I won't lie. A little bit of a sophomore slump. The offensive line hasn't helped him. The injuries to his wide receivers hasn't helped him. But he still has it, and you can tell he still has what it takes. And, Nico Collins is probable this Monday night, actually, against the Cowboys. The Cowboys are dysfunctional. Jerry Jones has completely buried that team in the ground. No one is really hyped to play for that team. No one is really.
Why would you?
And fans aren't watching the games. It's bad, and I think that they're just going to get humiliated again on Monday night, and I think they're going to let Stroud throw the ball more and really get Stroud going before this Texans last couple of stretches of games where they're looking to win this division and get something going to the playoffs because they really need to get Stroud going if they want to be anything. So
let me ask you something, Carter. As a Texans fan, do you think with the year he's been having, do you think CJ can take them far in the playoffs? Because we saw him have a great playoff performance last year.
Yeah, so obviously their defense is vast improved this year.
Mm-hmm.
They picked off Jared Goff 5 times. I think it's just going to be a matter of getting Nico Collins back, seeing how healthy he is, and just getting in a groove offensively, whether it's play calling or just, they haven't scored a touchdown in 4 straight second halves.
Yeah.
So they've done well in the first half, but they've lost 3 of their last 4 because they just can't score in the second half, and I think that changes this week. And I think Stroud will hopefully for fantasy and for my sake, I think he's throwing for 300 yards and definitely a couple touchdowns, maybe more.
I mean, the loss of Dak and that Dallas team just deflated them completely.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, right now it was Philly and Washington.
Who would have thought?
Up at the top. No, I
Who
know.
would have thought?
Exactly, yeah. Philly and Washington at the top. Dallas didn't even look bad. They just paid Dak so much money, CD so much money, and for it to be crashing down like this is...
I would say it's sad to see if it wasn't the Cowboys.
Yeah, you are right. You are right.
And like you said, I think CJ does still have it in him, and to you and I think the rest of the Texans fan base, I would not be worried watching him right now because, the sophomore slump is a major thing, and I think no matter how the rest of this year goes on for the Texans, I think coming back next year he will be still that elite guy we saw last year.
I mean, he's a heck of a quarterback.
Yeah,
man. He's so good.
And on to my next ball, I have Khalil Shakir.
Yeah.
Big game this week against Kansas City, and Keon Coleman out, Amari Cooper out, and even with Keon Coleman, Amari Cooper just got there. Even with Keon Coleman in the lineup, Khalil Shakir has still had a big year, and I predict that the Chiefs will shut down this Bills run offense.
Yeah.
And I think that Josh Allen's gonna have to rely on his limited amount of weapons.
And also Kincaid might be out as well.
Exactly.
We don't know. He got banged up last game, so.
So I think Khalil Shakir will receive a lot of targets. Of course, Mac is still there, but I think Khalil Shakir would be the wide receiver one for them this weekend, and I would definitely start him.
That's a hard defense to go against.
Yeah.
But it makes all the sense. It really does. I'm gonna go with my ball, and this is kind of a twofer. A little duo. It's going to be the rookie Drake Maye and his favorite target, Hunter Henry. I mean, this game coming up is it just makes sense. They're going against the LA Rams, and Drake Maye has looked amazing. As soon as he got the starting...
I mean, I've been super impressed by him this year.
Yeah. I mean, as soon as he took the starting role from Jacoby Brissett, I mean, that international game, he looked great against the Jags. And Hunter Henry has been his favorite guy. LA Rams defense isn't anything special this year, and I believe that he's going to target him early and often, and Drake Maye's going to have a really good game. If you have him, or your quarterback's injured, or your quarterback's on a bye, I would definitely pick up Drake Maye.
I like Drake Maye in fantasy because of his rushing potential too.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, people who didn't really study the draft looked at him and didn't, like, I would say casuals didn't really know that he could do that with his legs, but he's been showing them. He's had a couple of games over 50 rushing yards. Sneaky speed. He can maneuver a pocket well, which is what you love to see out of a rookie. And also just, again, like you said, him and Hunter Henry, you love a rookie who loves his tight end.
Yeah.
Because that's his first safety valve. If you're a quarterback and you want to be great in the league, you've got to have that tight end you always go to.
Exactly.
You looked at the Mahomeses, the Brady.
Exactly.
I mean, they all had that one tight end that they would always go to. And I'm not saying that's going to be Hunter Henry, obviously. But,
yeah. Well, I mean, I loved Hunter Henry, throughout his whole career, and he comes in fairly new Patriots offense who don't really have anything going for him, really.
Yeah.
Demario Douglas is real good. They drafted a rookie who can't catch a ball, but outside of that, Hunter Henry's been that guy.
Yeah. And trailing back to the Drake Maye talk, one thing I want to point out is when Jacoby Brissett was in, a lot of talk that I saw was you don't want Drake Maye in because look at what's happening to Jacoby Brissett. But he came in, and it's clear that it wasn't the system, it was the quarterback, because he's been playing phenomenally better than Jacoby Brissett. And for he's had his moments, of course, but at the end of the day, for a rookie quarterback, the way he's been playing, it's really impressive.
For sure.
So that'll wrap it up for our Baller Fall, and we'll be right back. Before we get back to the podcast, I'd like to take a minute to thank our sponsors. You'll see on our website, which is www.sportsupportinc, that is sportsupport.weebly.com, that we have a deal with Dead Threads, which is apparel, all sports. They've got everything. If you use code SPORTSUPPORT or click the link on our website or in our TikTok bio, You'll see that you get 10% off all of their apparel if you use our code in that link. Also, follow us on TikTok, which is sportsupport_TikTok. We like to post daily fantasy advice, starts and sits. We post a lot of parlay stuff on there. My boy JP makes all of those edits, so go give that channel some love. Say what's up to this. This will be on the YouTube, but go follow our YouTube, which is Sport Support Inc., which is SportSupportinc. If y'all are having trouble spelling, and then on Spotify too, you can search up Sport Support Inc. and you should be able to see us there. So yeah, guys, back to the podcast, and we'll see y'all soon. And we are back with our picks of the week. What we're going to do is, as Jaden and I are going to run through just briefly our picks of each and every game this week of who we like to win and why.
Yep.
So we'll start with this Thursday night game. We got Philadelphia favored by 3.5 against Washington. You got Marshawn Lattimore, who's out with an injury. Brian Robinson, who's likely to play with a hamstring injury. And you've got Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert questionable for the Eagles. So what do you think about this, Ez?
Just keeping it short and sweet. The Eagles have had an amazing defense so far, passing and rushing, and I think they're going to force the Commanders to pass here a lot, and I don't think the Commanders are going to have a good pass. I also think since Washington has such a bad rush defense that Saquon will take over this game and win Philly the game. So give me Philly here.
Okay, yeah. I'm going to go the opposite route. I think Washington uses that Steelers game last week as kind of a, that they have to get their stuff in order if they want to be a playoff team.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a big game. It's a rivalry game. And I do think that Philly's defense has had holes from time to time in the passing. They're going to need to pass, and Daniels has shown that he can do that. So give me Washington.
Yeah, so again, it's a division game. The winner takes sole possession of the NFC East, which is again, who would have thought that? Because the Commanders came out of nowhere. But this is a game where I think experience will take the upper hand. I'm going to go with the Eagles to win this. They've outscored opponents 147-65 over their 5-game winning streak, and it's not going to stop now. It'll be close, but the Eagles just have too many stars in A.J. Brown and Saquon, and they're going to be able to take this game over. So give me Philly.
Solid.
Moving on, we've got Green Bay favored by 6 in Chicago. Jair Alexander is questionable with a knee injury, which I feel like he's questionable every single game.
Yeah, it feels like it.
And Jaquan Brisker is questionable with a concussion for Chicago.
I'll start off here. Both teams are coming off losses. Both teams are trying to recover here. But to be honest, Chicago has looked like a dumpster fire recently, averaging 9 points over their last 2 games, which have been all losses. And I don't see them recovering here, honestly. Green Bay's fighting to stay atop of those NFC North rankings, and I think they're just going to come in here and win in Soldier Field.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Chicago just fired their offensive coordinator. Caleb's been struggling the past 3 games. It does not look like the number 1 overall pick, and I definitely do think that the Chicago offense will take a step back. It's hard to move on from a coordinator in 1 week, and it's against this really good Green Bay defense. I think Green Bay will take it. And, Chicago's struggling.
Yeah, again, it's another division matchup, and as we move on through these games, we'll see there's a lot of rivalries and division matchups this week where players just don't like each other. And I see Jordan Love following in his mentor Aaron Rodgers' shoes and owning the Bears once again. And Caleb Williams is on a slippery slope, and I think he'll keep sliding because this Packers defense is legit, and this Bears team just isn't that good, and they haven't been playing well at all. So that's a clean sweep for us. We've all got Green Bay.
Yeah, I like them.
Got Detroit here now against Jacksonville. They are favored by 13 points, which is a hefty amount, in large part because T-Law is questionable with a shoulder injury, but he's trending towards not playing, and Bigsby is also questionable with an ankle injury. What do you think about this one, Ez?
I think with T.L. out, the Jaguars really don't have a chance here. Detroit's had a top 6 rush defense so far, and I think they absolutely shut down ETN. Not to mention, after last week's performance by Jared Goff, I think he uses this game as a bounce-back game. He wants to be aggressive, and he wants to have a great game to keep that momentum going for the rest of the season. So give me Detroit here.
Yeah, and I'm probably going to shock you guys. I think Jacksonville will be within the spread of 13 this week.
Mm-hmm.
I get that Mac Jones is under center, but Mac Jones was a first round pick.
Mm-hmm.
You got to remember that. He's playing in his hometown, Jacksonville, and this team has hit their last 2 weeks, lost by 5 against Minnesota, lost by 3 against the Packers. They've had close games where the defense has really stepped up. I get that Detroit is 6-1, 7-1,
8-1, I think.
8-1.
Yeah.
They're the best team in the league,
Oh,
in
yeah.
my opinion. But I believe they're still going to win. But Jacksonville will definitely keep it close.
Yeah, again, Jacksonville's been playing decent football. And they keep games close, and their defensive end pair of Josh Hines Allen and Trayvon Walker, they can get to the quarterback, and that's one thing that Goff struggles with. He struggles with pressure at his feet. He struggles under pressure, as the Texans showed last week. But the Lions are the Lions, and they're a powerhouse, and they're gonna win. But it might be a closer game than a lot of people expect. So
For sure.
I'll take Detroit to win this one. Next up, we've got Tennessee against Minnesota. Tennessee is a 6-point underdog in this one. L'Jarius Sneed is doubtful, though, with a quad injury, which is something that Justin Jefferson definitely loves to hear.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron Jones is questionable for the Vikings with a rib injury.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we got to the point where we're questioning if Minnesota is a fluke or not, and I think those questions keep going on after this week because I think Tennessee is going to take the win this week in a big upset. The Titans, even despite losing last week, I think they looked great. Will Levis had a 78% completion percentage with 2 TDs, and their pass defense, even though Snead is questionable, I think they still will have a great game against that Minnesota pass. So give me Tennessee here.
Yeah, I mean that's solid. Solid takes, but I think Darnold's gonna bounce back on this one. I have Minnesota money line here. I just think with Snead potentially being out, he's doubtful. Jefferson is still Justin Jefferson. He's the number 1 best receiver in the league, in my opinion. And they have Hawkinson back. I think that offense is just pretty dominant. And last week's game was a fluke against the Jaguars. I think Minnesota dominates here.
Yeah, so actually I had Minnesota winning this game.
Yeah.
And then I listened to Ezz talk, and he really spoke to me.
Yeah.
Will Levis has actually looked decent. Last week he played a decent game.
Yeah.
And Sam Darnold didn't. And at the end of the day, Sam Darnold has been struggling. He's had 5 picks in his last 2 games, and the offense only put up 12 against Jacksonville and didn't even score a touchdown. So I think Minnesota's just falling back down to earth. I think they are a fluke. I think they could still make the playoffs. Obviously, they've had a strong start and their defense is great. But I think the Titans keep this game close at home, and I think they'll win this game. I think they'll take it.
Okay.
It's
I'm
the
the odd
NFL.
man
We're here
out.
for craziness, man.
I'm the odd man out.
We're here
We
for
like
it.
that though. We like that.
Up next, we've got the Raiders, who are 8-point dogs against Miami, who just picked up a great win on Monday night over the Los Angeles Rams.
It was.
Yeah.
I just don't really see this being a game. The Raiders have been spiraling downward this whole season, honestly. Questions at quarterback. And Miami's finally, with Tua back, they've gotten that momentum that they used to have and, what made them seem like a contender. And I think that Tua-Hill connection is going to be big this week. So I'm going to take Miami here.
Yeah, and I think Las Vegas wants this season to be over, to be frank. They don't really have a quarterback that they can lean on. Bowers has been great, but Miami's defense looked superb against the Rams. And I think with Tua back, they're just regenerated.
Yeah.
They have a whole new being now, and they're looking to knock out the next couple weeks and get some wins to make playoffs. So give me Miami here.
Yeah, I agree with everything both of y'all said. Miami needs wins. They need them fast. So this game won't be that close. I have Miami taking it without a sweat. Up next, we have Los Angeles making the trip across the country, the Rams, against New England Patriots, who picked up a convincing win over the Bears last week. New England
It's a long flight.
is currently 5-point underdogs at home in Foxborough.
Yeah. I think these 2 teams' records don't really tell their stories well, and I think even though the Patriots have been trending pretty well with Drake May, I think the Rams just take this game. They need to bounce back after last week, and I think New England's a great team to do it against.
Yeah, I'm gonna disagree. like we heard earlier, I'm a big supporter of Drake May and what he's doing right now. I also think that New England's defense is something that you shouldn't play with. The Rams' offense is explosive, but there's been some question marks this year. And I definitely do believe that the Patriots are here to win. It's in Foxborough. It's a long, long flight from Los Angeles.
Yeah.
So I definitely think Drake May has something to prove, and he's going to prove it. Give me New England.
Oh yeah, Jaden.
Yeah.
I mean, Drake May enthusiasts stand up.
Woo! There we go. There we go.
Yeah, so the Rams' schedule gets difficult after this game. They've got the Eagles and Bills in the next 3 weeks. And I think it might be a look-ahead game. You know, New England is nothing to laugh over. They've always had a strong defense.
Yeah.
They have a strong defense this year. And they have a young quarterback who's been tearing it up. And who
Yes.
can do it with the legs.
Mm-hmm.
He can pretty much do it with the arm. He's been great so far. So I have Drake May and the Patriots defeating the Rams on their road trip and pretty much knocking the Rams out of playoff contention.
Yeah.
And then we have an ugly game. It's going to be Cleveland against New Orleans. Right now, it's
Disgusting.
a 1-point spread in favor of New Orleans. Ez, what are your thoughts on this one?
Unfortunately for the Saints, Younghoe does not play for the Browns, and I don't think they get as lucky as they did last week. This Jameis-led Browns team looks exciting to me, and I think they're going to take a big win against New Orleans.
Yeah, I agree with you. Jameis, he's playing his old team, and he's playing the team that didn't start him when Carr was struggling, and I really think that he's going to take that to heart. You know, Jameis Winston's been balling.
Mm-hmm.
He has so many weapons on this offense. Njoku, Chubb is back, Judy, Elijah Moore. I really just think it's not close, and honestly, this spread line is pretty disrespectful for Cleveland.
I mean,
Yeah.
Cleveland's offense is really the same as their 11-6 team last year.
Yeah.
And they were really good under Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco and Jameis are both gunslingers.
Mm-hmm.
I think this team just finds a new identity under Jameis Winston. And unless there's a touchdown in this one, I don't want it on my NFL Red Zone on
For sure.
Sunday
Yeah.
because it's two teams with no chance of making the playoffs. And it's going to be a sloppy one, but I think the Browns are a different team under Jameis. Jameis is going to get back at his former team. I've got the Browns winning this one in a
Clean
sweep for the gang.
Clean sweep.
Let's go.
Baby.
And
Next
then
game, we got Indianapolis against the New York Jets.
First off, another game that please keep it off my TV. I really don't want to see it. Second off, two teams that just have rough quarterback situations and just team situations, but I think this Jets defense will thrive this week and ultimately lead them to the win. So give me the Jets.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Jets have not looked pleasing at all. Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams, what more do you need?
Yeah.
And you're still struggling. So, but with Anthony Richardson, I just cannot take the Colts here. I really can't. It's abysmal. It's either deep ball or no ball, you know? And the Jets defense, they are number one in pass defense right now. They're going to ball out. I think the Jets win this, no doubt about it.
yeah, so the Jets have been terrible all season, but there's one thing more terrible than the Jets, and it's Anthony Richardson.
Yeah.
I've not been impressed watching him this season, and things can change over the next few years, but I think the Jets defense does enough to confuse him and take this game for sure.
For sure.
Up next, we've got the Ravens and the Steelers in the 1 o'clock game of the week. The Ravens are 3-point favorites, but the Steelers are leading the division right now, and they are not looking back.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a big game. Big matchup to watch would be the Ravens offense and the Steelers defense, but ultimately I think the Steelers defense does get the upper hand, and I do think that Pickens-Wilson connection for the Steelers offense will be huge, and I think even though it'll be a really tight game, I think the Steelers do lead with the win here.
Yeah, and I agree with you too. I think this Pittsburgh Steelers defense is something that you don't play with, and the Ravens defense hasn't looked very good at all, despite their record. So I really think Russ is gonna get it going, and Pickens, Najee, if he plays, Jalen Warren will be involved, and I think Pittsburgh's scary. Pittsburgh's definitely scary. I got Pittsburgh.
Yeah, they've looked much better under Russell Wilson, and I think that this game is going to actually shoot out despite the two defenses, the Steelers' defense obviously being stronger than the Ravens. But as good as the Steelers' defense is, I think the Ravens' offense is that much better. And I just frankly can't see the Steelers running away with the division with a win here. Give me the Ravens to take this one and to take over their their reign in the AFC North.
Yeah.
Up next, we've got the 4:05 games.
Yeah.
We've got Atlanta Falcons, 2.5-point underdogs against the Denver Broncos. Two teams who are really defensive-minded, scrappy teams.
I think Kirk Cousins is just not going to be able to handle this Denver defense, honestly. They've had some shaky games this year, and I think this is going to be one of them for that Atlanta offense, and I think the Denver defense really does lead them to a win here, and I think Knicks also has a really good game, so give me Denver here.
I mean, Denver's defense is super scary. And
Definitely.
if Drake London doesn't play, Mooney, Pitts,
they're just not going to be able to handle it.
No, I mean, not against Pat Surtain and this defense. They just been crazy, and they're hungry right now. I'm not saying Atlanta isn't, but Atlanta kind of has already solidified that number one spot in the NFC South with the 2 wins against the Bucks.
Mm-hmm.
So I really do think that Denver's hungry. They're in the wild card. They're going to do whatever it takes to win, and it's in Denver. Give me Denver money line.
Yeah, so again, I'm going to have to disagree with both of y'all. I love Denver's team. I think Bo Nix has had a great season, but I think the Falcons need to win in a big way, and they just have, again, more skill positions on offense.
Yeah.
Bijan's coming off a great game last week, and if Younghoe Koo could kick, this team is 7-3, I believe.
It's true.
So, I think that this game was going to come down to the wire, but I think Koo's going to be able to redeem himself, and I think it's going to be fitting. He's going to hit a last-second field goal, and the Falcons are going to win by 3. Mark my words.
Denver losing by a field goal twice in a week.
Oof.
Yeah, it's going to be rough, but that's how Denver fans have had it the last couple of
That
years
is
since
true.
Peyton left.
That is true.
Next up, we've got the Ezz's 49ers against the Seattle Seahawks in another division game. The Seahawks are touchdown underdogs in this one.
Yeah, I mean, the tale of the story here is that the 49ers have the Seahawks number, and I don't see that stopping anytime soon. So I think with DK out, the 49ers secondary has the exact matchups that they want. That's either Lenore Ward versus Locke and JSN. So I ultimately see San Francisco running away with this.
Yeah, and I will disagree. You're a Niners fan, but I do believe that CMC is back. That's cool. Yeah, Seattle's defense has shown time and time again this year that they are for real, and they mean business. And this is a huge game, really is. Cardinals are on the top of the NFC West right now. It could change in 2 weeks,
Yeah.
So I really think Seattle's gonna use that to their advantage, and Gino's gonna ball out. DK or no DK, I think Seattle wins.
Yeah, I think the 49ers they've had the Seahawks number, like as touched upon, and I think they've got their mojo back. I think that, CMC's back, Debo's healthy, Kittle's healthy. I mean, this team is dangerous, and I think they're the second best team in the NFC outside of the Detroit Lions when they're playing as a unit. Obviously, no more Ayuk, but Jawan Jennings has really stepped up. I think San Francisco wins this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to give you a final score prediction. If I get this right, y'all have to follow the TikTok. It's sportsreport_TikTok.
All right,
27-17. San Francisco takes this game. It's not really that close.
Lock it in.
Yeah. Lock it in.
Seattle's winning. All right.
Up next, we've got Kansas City, Buffalo,
Yep.
game of the week in Buffalo. Buffalo's actually favored in this one by 2.5.
Which is crazy to me. But
Yeah, it is crazy. Kansas City barely escaped, though, last week against Denver.
But Cleveland's a 1-point spread versus New Orleans. Like, that doesn't...
Don't understand. Vegas knows something we obviously don't.
I guess.
But Ed, start us off here.
I'll start us off. I think Kansas City wins it. That's as simple as that. I think Kansas City has gone to the point where we can look at matchups, we can look at stats, but I think Kansas City has gone to the point where they can win big games, and this is one of those games that they will win.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Kansas City will find out a way to win every single week, and it pains me to say that, but I do believe that Kansas City. It's crazy to me. They just win. I don't understand it, but they're gonna win this game.
I mean, it feels like every single week that Kansas City finds a way to win, it's just like part of me just gets ripped out. Part of my heart just gets ripped out.
I see it on Red Zone. I'm like,
it hurts so bad every week. And that's why the little bit of hope I have left is rested on Josh Allen's shoulders.
Please, Josh Allen.
Yeah, please, Josh Allen, save us. They narrowly escaped defeat last week. I think Kansas City, they win, but Buffalo's a different animal,
Yeah.
and I think the atmosphere is going to be the big story here.
It will.
Obviously, the fans are going to pack this stadium out. It's the biggest regular season game in Josh Allen's career, if I may, and Mahomes has just beaten him, and I think he's finally going to have his number, and he's going to conquer the Chiefs, at least in the regular season, before Mahomes finds a way again to win his third straight Super Bowl.
Yeah, that'll be crazy. All right.
Next
game, we got Cincinnati Bengals versus the Los Angeles Chargers on Sunday Night Football.
Yeah.
Now, this is my game of the week. I think this is going to be an absolute shootout.
Yeah.
As you can.
I also think it's going to be an absolute shootout, but ultimately I think the Bengals take this. You know, they're in a do-or-die position, and I think we finally get to see that end-of-the-season Bengals that we see every single year, and I think this is going to be the start of that.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah. I disagree. Big Drake Maye and Justin Herbert staying over here.
Love
I
it.
mean, I think Herbert, he only has one interception
Throughout
on the
this whole season, yeah.
Yeah. And he's really taking care of the ball. And I think now the Chargers have made that step forward into an actual passing offense, because earlier in the season they've kind of relied on that run. But now some teams have forced them to pass, and Herbert can do it effortlessly. This Chargers team is very dangerous. They're in the wild card as well. They're fighting with the Chiefs and Broncos.
Yeah.
They need wins. I think the Chargers are going to win this 33-28.
I love that final score. I mean,
And if
61 total points on a Sunday night.
yeah,
What else can you ask for, man?
exactly.
As a
And if
football
I am
fan.
right with that prediction, you have to follow Sports Support
_TikTok.
_TikTok.
Y'all heard it.
Y'all heard it. Let's go.
So yeah, I'm actually a huge LA Chargers fan myself. I love Harbaugh. I love the way that this team's been playing under Herbert. They finally found out how to utilize that man and, find that balance between their strong run game and throwing to young players who are really coming out this year. Ladd McConkey, Quentin Johnston.
Yeah.
Like, they've been good this year. And so I have the Chargers picking up this win, even though the Bengals, it is a must-win for them, as 5-6 is a lot different than 4-7 at this time of year. But
Sure.
I think the Chargers are just more well-rounded than the Bengals, and I think they get it done on Sunday night.
On to the next game. We got Houston versus Dallas, your team, Carter. And I'm just going to keep it short and simple. Everyone send your prayers to the city of Dallas. This is going to be a beatdown. Give me Houston by 1 million.
Yeah. I agree. Dallas has not looked good. And they lost their starting quarterback, who they just paid. It's really just sad times in Dallas, and I think Houston will show who the better. Stroud will show that he's the king of Texas.
Yeah, and Houston just got humiliated on national television back-to-back weeks. They only scored 6 total points in the second half of those games. I think that's going to change. I really think that this Texans team is angry. They get Nico Collins back.
Yep.
The offense is a different animal with Collins. He, Dell, Mixon can get things done. Dallas is just not going to have an answer offensively. And the Texans' defense is...
The defense looks so bad.
They're good. They're
Dallas'
good. The Dallas defense is
looks so
awful.
bad.
I think the Texans win this, and I don't think it's close at all. But it'll be a fun game for me to watch.
For sure. Yeah,
Yeah,
hopefully.
so...
But yeah, no, that pretty much wraps up our game picks.
Yeah, and we're on to our locks of the week.
Yeah. Can't wait.
All right, so we're on to the lock of the week. So how this segment's going to work, every week we are each going to choose one of our favorite player props and one of our favorite spreads, and we're just going to pick them. So I'm going to get us started here. My player prop lock of the week is Chase Brown to record under 66.5 rushing yards. I looked at this and I said, what the heck is this line?
Yeah.
He's had one game over 53 rushing yards in his last 5, and this game is going to be really honing in on passing offenses and the quarterback matchup.
Yeah.
Also, to put salt on the wound, the Chargers' rush defense, they're top 10 in the NFL, and they're going to make life really tough for Chase Brown on Sunday night. I really think so. Going right into my spread, I've got Cleveland +1 over New Orleans. We had talked about this. We all agreed we think Cleveland's going to win. Jameis Winston facing his former team. Browns are a different animal under Winston. They look like a functional football team. Their offense looks alive, and the Saints just aren't that good, especially after losing Marshawn Lattimore.
Yeah.
I think the Browns will cover that spread and win the game outright.
I'll go next. I have my line for the week is Justin Jefferson under 85.5 receiving yards. Like I said earlier, Tennessee's pass defense has been amazing, and I see them continuing that to this week. And I just don't think he has one of his regular breakout games that we've seen from Jay Jettis week and week and week. And then straight into my spread, I love Cincinnati 1.5. Like I talked earlier, I think Cincinnati is at a do or die type point, and I think that Joe Burrow's gonna know that he needs to win. And so I don't maybe not easily. I can see it being a close game, but I do think this spread is worth locking in for me. Jade?
Yeah, and I'll pick up with my lock of the week. I think George Pickens will get 66.5 receiving yards easily. He's going against the Ravens team, who are complete last in the NFL to yards given up against receivers. Pickens is the only receiver on this team. I mean, you can make an argument with Calvin Austin, but it's not really valid. George Pickens will receive all the targets from Russ. They've built that connection. I think this is an easy lock for this week. For my game pick, I feel strongly about this New England team, in Foxborough, going against the Rams. I think my lock is going to be New England 4.5, with the spread, of course. And Drake May is going to show the league that he means business.
Yeah, and it's always tough for teams to travel from the West Coast to the East Coast and play at 1 p.m. Eastern time.
Yeah. Exactly.
Like it's early for their body clock. Yeah. I like those picks. So that's gonna wrap up this first podcast.
Yeah,
I hope everyone enjoyed. I know we had a lot of fun making it.
I did.
And if you guys have got any thoughts, issues, anything, let us know in the comments.
Yeah.
Link to Dead Threads will be down below. The link to our socials, YouTube, TikTok, they'll all be down below. And if you're watching this on YouTube, our link to our Spotify podcast will be down below in the description. So
Definitely.
hope all of y'all enjoyed.
Yeah.
We sure did too, and we'll see you same time next week.
There we go.
Not for us.
Peace.
Sports support out, baby.